Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge television and radio talk show, Where Truth Matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 2 p.m. on the Eastern time zone. As I get to ride home with you in the afternoon, it's all about telling the truth here, even if it hurts. Ouch. And it's hurt me quite a few times. But you know, we grow from learning the truth. So that's what all happens. Peter Young is with me right now. And Peter, I'll have to tell you, I really enjoy having you on the show. And so does our audience. We love hearing from you. So give us your story. We have some first-time watchers. And what brought you to this point?
So, the Reader's Digest version is, I unwittingly married into a tiny but destructive religious cult. When I married the love of my life back in 1997, our little cult leader was a guy named Uncle Robert, born and raised in Syria, wasn't related to any of us. And my former wife, I call her Paige in my memoir, was born into the cult. And so she knew no other life. And so for the first, 5 or so years of our marriage, he was kind of a distant threat, I would say. And I kind of thought the guy was nuts. But slowly and surely over the years, I was like the frog in the pot of boiling water. He took over our marriage, our lives, and eventually destroyed my marriage, broke up my family. He and my ex-wife taught our 5 children that I was the devil, that I was Satan and a sorcerer. I doubted my faith. He had me convinced that I wasn't a Christian, that I was incapable of receiving Christ's salvation. He taught me that I had a legion of demons living inside of me. And I was, brainwashed to the point where I believed him. And then my wife left me, and I, in effect, kind of got kicked out of the cult. And then my family, my brothers, sister-in-laws, and parents kind of rallied around me. They didn't really know much about the cult. They weren't involved in it. And the Lord really opened my eyes and ears to it. And so it took over a year to finally be, rescued from the brainwashing. So then I wrote a book, a memoir called Stop the Tall Man, Save the Tiger, that talks about my story. And so now I speak on podcasts like yours, Donna, so that I, can use my story, as painful as it was, I can use my story as a cautionary tale to warn others. Because I can tell you, if I know one thing, it's this: you do not want to experience the journey in and out of a cult, because it is very painful.
Let me ask you about a cult leader. Are they selective as to who gets into the cult? In other words, would they have asked your parents and your family to come inside?
That is a great question. And I always tell people cults come in all different shapes and sizes. I'm the expert, not on cults in general, but on what I experienced. And now I've read probably about a dozen books on cults. And so in our situation, we were not out trying to gather more, let's say, believers or converts. It was more along the lines of he wanted to continually solidify his control over us. So ours was a very small cult. So yes, he would have been very selective. There were a few people that kind of joined over the years. But when I say a few people, I'm talking like 2 or 3. So it was a very small cult. And so the emphasis for him was not on the numbers, but on the quality. That's probably not a very good word to use, but still the intensity of his control over us.
Was it about money? Was he constantly asking you for money?
Again, that's one of those questions where, Don, I don't know if I have the answer, because people will say, well, what was it? What did he get out of it? Why did he do this? He certainly wasn't getting rich off of us. So, we tithed, and I used to tithe to like Prison Fellowship, Athletes in Action, our local church. Eventually, we all sent our tithes to Uncle Robert. And again, he wasn't getting rich off of us. There was maybe 4 families, let's say, that were tithing to him. So you wonder, well, why does a cult leader do this? And to me, think about it in your own life. If you had a dozen people that thought, Donna, you walk on water, you're amazing. You started this women's Bible study. And like all of a sudden now everybody thinks you're just the greatest, right? You are so sublime, you're brilliant, right? It takes a very strong person to say, well, wait a minute, that's not me. I'm a sinner just like you that needs to be saved. And so here's Uncle Robert hearing over and over again how incredible he is. And yeah, he's cultivated it. And it takes, again, a very strong, humble individual to say, wait a minute, I'm not your savior. And that was not Uncle Robert. He loved the praise. He loved how my former in-laws called him dad. and would literally bend the knee to him and bow down to him and hold his hand and weep at every, kind of story he told. And I think he lived that. He loved that power.
What was his age compared to yours at that time?
Well, so I'm 57 and he's probably around 80, 81. So he and my former in-laws would have been right around the same age. So when I got married, I was 29. So what's that? So he would have been probably in his 50s, mid to late 50s when I first met him. And he was odd when I first met him, a little charismatic and eccentric, but I didn't think it would be this bad. I never saw this coming.
In a previous podcast, previous interview with you, we had talked about, how close are these people to being a narcissist? Did they have the narcissistic traits? Would that be true?
Oh yeah. To me, if you look at the check marks, if you're going to check the box of a cult leader, narcissist is probably number 1 or 2. It is certainly on the list of every one of those cult leaders. And I always say too, cults have 2 things in common. They can look different. They can be big, small, sexually abusive, physically abusive, or not, but they all have a cult leader, and they all begin and end with undue manipulative mind control. And all those cult leaders then are narcissistic because they all share those traits. And Uncle Robert was very narcissistic. He would certainly gaslight me, because I talked about this in another episode, I think it was, where, if you ask a cult leader a question, number 1, they don't like it. And then number 2, the answer is never answering your question. It is, why are you so stupid that you don't understand me, that you don't get me, that you keep asking these inappropriate questions? When there's nothing inappropriate about it, he just didn't want to answer it.
Well, I know that this is almost a political show as well. So I have a lot of folks who are running for office who are on the show. When I ask a question, they dance around it. I don't say anything on the air, but I'm thinking to myself, you're not going to get my vote. Because you don't have to hide, you'll be glad. And like you said in another episode, man, it's a great way to enlighten people if you'll ask questions.
Right. And again, the truth doesn't mind being questioned, right? The truth can stand on its own, right? If I'm not very good at professing and defending my Christian faith, that's on me. That's not on Christianity. There's nothing wrong with Jesus Christ and his plan for our lives and his dominion and his sovereignty. If I didn't do a good job explaining it, again, that's me and my weakness. But you can ask me anything, because I'm not afraid of questions. So if it's someone running for elected office or whomever it is, if they don't like questions, that's a huge red flag. I mean, you can ask me a question. Let's say I'm a member running for political office, and I'll just say, I don't know. Good question. And I honestly think, Donna, if you were in the audience and somebody said, I don't know, I'd be like instantly, yes, I can trust this person because they're being honest rather than give me some line. Just say, I don't know.
I had one guy one time was running for office, and he didn't get elected. There's nothing I did. He did it to his own self. And it was some kind of addendum coming up, and he wouldn't answer. I just wanted to know what it was about. Break it down in cornbread language is what I said to him.
Okay.
So we can all understand it. Because you know how they is. They're all written by attorneys, and who knows what in the world, between the lines. Us women like to read between the lines. And so I asked him, and all he said was, now, Donna, this is for the children. That's all the answer I needed. And I'm like, no, it's to benefit you. It's not to help the children. Right. And how important is it to really listen to an answer someone gives us? And are we okay with dissecting their answer?
Yeah, it's very important. It's a good point, because also to remember, in cults, you've been brainwashed, so you're not thinking very clearly. So your ability to be critical and doubt the cult leader has already been kind of diminished. But let's just take it out of a cult realm at this point. My antenna always goes up when I can tell someone's, kind of trying to beat around the bush and not giving me a direct answer. And if you don't know, just simply be humble enough to admit it and say, listen, I'll get you the answer. I don't know right now, but I'll find out. That's a very good question, versus getting angry at the person for asking the question. That's a red flag for me.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I'm like, why are you angry? I'm just asking a logical question. Right. And then I was at a group setting one time and asked a question like that. Well, I looked around the group and they wanted to know too. I could tell from the expression on their face, and it made the guy mad. Never asked him to come to another event, so I never televised anything for him again. But it was not now. And okay, let me ask you a question. I know a lot of of times it's the way you deliver the message, the way you ask the question. And I was trying to be just as kind as I possibly could. I hope I didn't have that look on my face, like how you're trying to. I hope I didn't. So I tried really hard not to, but it still offends them.
Yeah, that's why it is so important to have important conversations in person. There's only so many emojis you can use on a text or an email, right? Or on a phone call to try and explain yourself. And I'll relate it back to my college days. I played college basketball, and I wanted to be the next Larry Bird, but I was not that good, obviously, because I spent a lot of my career on my bench. But I had two coaches, and one, he played for Dean Smith, North Carolina. The guy played in the pros, and he knew basketball like the back of his hand. And then he got fired because we weren't very good. My last year, we were good. Got a new coach. His name was Mike Jarvis, kind of a famous guy. If you know college basketball, you've heard of Mike Jarvis. And really the only difference between those two men, because they both knew basketball incredibly well, was that Coach Jarvis was able to communicate. And you knew that he trusted you. And just in the way that he was able to communicate his knowledge and rally the troops, so to speak, and instill in you a confidence. And we went from a losing team to a winning team. And literally all it was his ability to communicate. And I remember just thinking, that's fascinating. And that's the hallmark of a great coach and a great leader.
You are spot on there, because I've had some wonderful bosses. I've really loved every job I've ever had. It's just there was one boss I had to question him. But it was always about it wasn't a team spirit at all. It was always about him. And he never congratulated anyone. I mean, it just, it was all that when he would talk to his boss, and I was friends with his boss, by the way. And so when he would talk to his boss, he would always tell her, well, I made this happen. I did this. I did that. You would think he made all of the corporate and government sales all by himself. In reality, he did nothing. And she figured it out. She had it. So there's always somebody that's going to bring this person down. It could be their boss. It could be their superior. It could be somebody.
Right. Well, I've got two examples, Donna, I think that'll kind of resonate with you that, from my experience. The first one would be about that coach I had at George Washington University. That's where I played. This guy's name is John Kuster. And he's a great man. He really worked hard. He really wanted to be a great coach. But you always knew he didn't trust you when you were out on the floor, because he was a very good college player, played in the NBA. And I, along with all my teammates, we knew, even though we were out there, he never really trusted us. And that is very hard for an athlete, probably anybody in work, that the boss doesn't trust you to do it right. And then in the second example I would give would be with the cult leader, Uncle Robert. He created within each and every one of us doubt. We always doubted ourselves. We doubted every single word and thought and deed, because that way we then needed him. So in Christianity, there we have victory in Christ. We were never allowed to have victory in Christ, because if we did, we wouldn't need him. So he always cultivated in us this aura of doubt, where we had to doubt everything, because then he, of course, is the antidote. He's the answer to all that doubt.
Absolutely. Let's go into a commercial break. When we come back, I'd like to know a little bit more about the cult leader's background. And if you could possibly know what brought him to that point. We'll be right back in just a few minutes.
Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring. But the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer.
Yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Okay, we are back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge television talk show, Where Truth Matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 2 p.m. on the Eastern time zones. I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. You can find us on social media. I think everything that's available, we're on it. You can find us on Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com. So find us on the radio as well. I can't show you the widgets there. I had to speak the widget out on the radio, but it's a fun thing. Thank you so much, WZLA, for making that happen. Wanted to thank, we've got a lot of new sponsors. Wanted to mention a couple to you before we get back in. Ultra Water, my friend Martin Metz is the owner there. And if you're concerned about your drinking water, the contaminants that are in it, you'll really need to get this. You don't have to go with the full blown out system. I don't have that. I have the under the kitchen sink counter one, and I use it for everything. I use it for gardening. I'm using it for when we cook. I mean, it's great to wash your hair and your face with it. It's just a good water system. You can call Mark at area, and he deals with folks all over the world, 864-528-9078. Make sure you give him a call. And it's worth the investment. I'm just telling you. And then also, I have more sponsors that are available in the Anderson Mall, and we're signing paperwork right now. And so again, thank you guys so much for giving me that opportunity to be able to express and to be able to help you build your business. I'm always glad to do that. Continue sending email, Donna at donnasedge.com, Donna at donnasedge.com. Before I forget, Honey Baked Ham. Okay, Honey Baked Ham, we're giving away a $25 gift card every single Friday. We have the holidays are just about over now. New Year's, think about Valentine's Day that's coming up. Or if you just want to have a very special date night, you can do that. And the Eggs Up Grill doing the same thing, $25 gift card every single Friday. Got to get in contact with me and let me know. Send an email to Donna at donnasedge.com. Again, that's Donna at donnasedge.com. And if you'll simply follow me on my Facebook page, you're already in the drawing. Okay, so there you go. Okay, I have Peter Young with me right now. Fascinating story. So there are cult leaders that, you have to shake your head, at what they can do and how they can get a group of people to do things. There's been several, national events that happened back in the 70s. A lot of folks drank the Kool-Aid And, this guy was able to absolutely, was it Jim Jones? Was that what his name
Jim
was?
Jones, yep, down in Guyana. Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that was something. And then in a little bit more recent years, 40 people, I'm talking very, very smart folks, well-educated folks, killed themselves and thought they were doing the right thing. They were going to another planet. And so we just have to really be careful and vigilant. But do backgrounds vary with cult members? Do they always start out this way, or is that something they acquire as they get older?
Yeah, great question. I'm actually reading another book on cults. Because of my situation of, being in a tiny religious cult, I now read a lot about cults. And so I'm reading about Jim Jones right now. And a lot of people like Jim Jones and Charles Manson, not sure about David Koresh, but they often have a very troubled childhood. Often there is sexual or physical abuse involved, certainly not in all cases. But obviously there's a reason why these people turn out the way they do when they become adults. In my case, the guy's name we called him Uncle Robert. His name was Robert Booty. He was born and raised in Syria and emigrated to the United States and married, by all intents and purposes, a fairly normal woman from Tennessee, a lovely lady that we called Aunt Sarah. Again, none of these people related to us. They would have met my former in-laws at a tiny seminary, Christian seminary in Fresno, California, in the late 60s, early 70s. And it was there that Robert met my former in-laws, even before Paige was born. And so that kind of kick-started this very parasitic, one-sided relationship. And a very bright man, again, has read the Bible a number of times. But as I look back now, and I didn't know much about his upbringing. He never discussed it very much. There was a time when we would all share our testimonies, how we came to know the Lord, how the Lord found us, and how we became a Christian, however you want to call it. And he would never share his with us. I was always curious as to how that happened. But it was almost as if, there the Lord is, setting the foundations of the world, and Uncle Robert's right next to him with his measuring tape, right? Like, how dare you ask for my, testimony, because I've been, a Christian forever. At least that was kind of the
before he was even born.
Yeah, the feeling I got, exactly. But he would share this one story. And again, you talk about control. The leaders want to have control over us. We are down, they're below, and they're sublime. They're brilliant. Everything they do is just so much better than us. So he would tell the story. Growing up in Syria, his father gave him a slingshot, and he told him how to use it properly. And one day, Uncle Robert, a little kid, 6 or 7, I don't know how old he was, throws the rock out of the slingshot and did not obey his father's warnings about knowing where that you're throwing the rock. And the little lamb raises its head over the rise. The rock hits the lamb and kills it. And so because he did not fully obey his father's instructions, he accidentally killed the lamb. And then he told all of us that was the only time he ever sinned. So it's pretty hard as a Christian to have a attitude or a spirit of humility and think that you need grace and salvation if you've only sinned once. And he truly taught us that he had only sinned once as a little boy growing up in Syria because he misused his slingshot.
I find that a little hard to believe that you've only sinned. You're a human being. So, yeah. So he never once even hurt anybody's feelings or anything like that. I mean, he's just always pretty much perfect. Now, his spouse, did he have many lovers within the cult, or was his wife the only lover he had?
Well, as far as I know, his wife, then they had from the outside, a healthy marriage, a healthy Christian marriage. Sexual abuse is common in cults. I never saw it in ours. As people have read my book, read my story, my book is Stop the Tall Man, Save the Tiger. And they will read it and they'll say, oh, come on, Peter, there had to have been something going on. And I will say, to his credit, I never saw anything. And we homeschooled our kids. I have 3 sons and 2 daughters. I never saw anything untoward or anything inappropriate with my daughters, because we were around them a lot. So, and they were never alone with him. So there's nothing along those lines that I saw, which I'm very thankful for. It doesn't have to have physical and sexual abuse to be an abusive cult, because in our situation, it was all spiritual, mental, and emotional abuse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would have really become unhinged had it not touched my family members. But yeah, I mean, it's just mind blowing that someone can be that way. But now, aren't they really good at covering up what they do? I mean, because you have to wonder if maybe you guys were considered the weakest link. Because there are different signals, I would think.
Right. Well, I was always considered the weakest link in our little cult, which again would have been 20 people or less, a bunch of kids and, let's say 8 to 10 adults, right? So it was not a very big cult. I was always the weakest link because I asked the most questions. And so the person that questions the cult leader the most is therefore the weakest link. The strong members of the cult who don't question him, who revere him, who blindly obey and believe every single thing out of his mouth. And so the control came by using me, mostly me, as an example. Here's what will happen to you if you ask too many questions. And so then they would see what happened to me. And that was, I'd get gaslit and I was, constantly being denigrated. I shouldn't say constantly. The last few years of our marriage, as things spiraled out of control, at that point, I would have been constantly denigrated to where my wife would see, well, here's this brilliant man that I adore, Uncle Robert, and here's my husband. Why doesn't he get it? And so then I became further and further denigrated in her eyes, which then eventually led to the destruction of our marriage.
Well, actually, what was wrong was right and what was right was wrong. So actually, you were the strongest one because you were able to ask questions. But he wanted the other lesser people to feel like they were the stronger ones because they get it. Nobody wants to be called stupid. That's what he was trying to do to you. So the others, well, what I'm going to be called stupid. So they would just kind of go along with it.
And I remember one time, he had this crazy idea about America's sovereign national credit. And it's so crazy. I don't want to spend too much time trying to explain it because you can't explain it. But the idea would be that we all have, as Americans, our own credit. So we could write a check on the bank of Peter Young or the bank of Donna Fiesel. And if you want to buy that house for $1 million, great. Buy it for $1 million, write a check. And oh, by the way, if you don't want to ever pay it back, you don't have to. I mean, it's idiotic, like literally. And he felt like it was a sovereign birthright for all Americans, that would, of course, would lead to massive inflation within hours. Oh. And so I would try and get him to explain this to me because, I was a big fan of Ron Paul and limited government and gold and silver. And, I saw the dangers of a central bank, et cetera. And he would never explain it. He would always just kind of mock me. And when he emailed back the answer to my questions, he sent it to me and then to my wife. And then he also copied, or he didn't copy, he sent the email back and basically told us to print it off and give a copy to our 2 oldest sons, who at the time were like 12 and 14, because he wanted to make sure that my boys could see how dumb their dad is and how smart Uncle Robert is. That bothered me.
Utter nonsense. I say this to mother-in-laws who try to down their daughter-in-laws to their husbands. That's also narcissism. I really believe it. I mean, the whole thing, what Satan tries to do is eliminate the family. That's why you see so many things happening, that have happened in the past, 12 years in the government. Is that's what it's all about? Control over the people, where you're not a free thinker, where you can't do for yourself, and that's what's happening. That's what's happened to the country and to the world, I believe.
Yeah, cult leaders will try and let's say diminish or dilute the role of the family. I believe government does as well. I mean, government wants power, no matter what country you live in. That's just what governments do. They're made of fallible people, and the family is a very strong unit, and so therefore it's a threat. Certainly for cult leaders as well, they want to try and kind of chip away at the authority of the father or the grandfather, whoever it is. So that way the cult leader, certainly in our case, that's what Uncle Robert did, chipped away at my authority. So that I just became a bloodline or a sperm donor, so that my children would then look to him as the authority in their lives. And that's just wicked. I mean, that's all it is. It's evil and wicked.
It is. It's just terrible. And by the way, the devil knows the Bible inside and out.
Right.
So more than we do. But again, Peter, thank you so much for being on the show with me. It's always so much fun. I want you to hang around. So informative. Some things that we need to know in our daily lives. And you're putting it out there. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you so much for watching and for listening. Any email you have for Peter, just go ahead and send it to me and I'll get it to him. Donna@donnasedge.com. Donna@donnasedge.com. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.